Welcome to the Female CEO podcast, hosted by Mark Sephton. You may know her name, but do you know her story? This podcast takes you behind the titles and into the moments that shape some of today's most inspiring women. We explore the paths they've taken, the businesses they've built, and how they've created success on their own terms. Created by the Female CEO Create, Evolve, Overcome, these are honest, human conversations, rooted in real experience. Let the journey begin.
I want to welcome you to the Female CEO, Eleni. It's great to have you on this episode today. Eleni Kantzos, you are a mentor and guide for women leaders, helping them reconnect with their inner authority, embodiment, and authentic visibility. It's great to have you on today's show. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? We've been connected for a number of years now, and when we recently had a conversation, it became very apparent that this opportunity was of great alignment, and obviously alignment being something that's very important to you, and you work with women specifically on alignment as well. What was it about the partnership with the Female CEO that just felt like a really good fit for you?
Well, I was really just ready for more. Well, I am ready for more in visibility, in authenticity, in just being seen, in creativity, and just bringing more of my work into the world and for women. I'm ready for that expansion to reach more people. Yeah, to bring more knowledge, I guess, more wisdom, and especially about connection and pleasure and sex as well.
Yeah, and I think that interestingly, because of the nature of your work, and I feel like times have changed and are still changing, where sex in particular was very much a bit of a taboo word, but it's definitely something that you've really embraced, and you've been really vulnerable in that, haven't you?
Yeah, it definitely has been a journey, and one that's been filled with grief and sadness and anger and pleasure at the end of the day as well. And I found through my own work and through taking myself in different processes and healing modalities, that it can be one of the greatest ways that a woman can really bring more connection into herself, into her work, her purpose, and also her relationships as well.
Yeah, one thing I found really refreshing about this particular part of your message is the fact that you've never come from a place of bashing the male, I guess, experience. You very much came from a very balanced and actually almost spoken on behalf of men. I've seen some of the things that you've wrote on your socials that I think only really a woman can say, because if a man was to say it probably wouldn't land. So from my point of view, I just really want to validate that and say thank you for.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a lot of work I've done around my relationship to the masculine as well. And really having to, go through some relationships that weren't or didn't end up that great, and get to the point where it was like, well, why am I continually experiencing the same thing or going through the same patterns, just with meeting people in different bodies? And the shift around really loving men, truly loving men, not wanting anything from them, but really coming from a place of not wanting to get or anything like that, was looking at myself and my patterns and every trigger that I had around men in general, or a man, was like, okay, so this is showing me more about myself. Like, if he's pushing up against my boundaries, where am I not embodied in my boundaries, and where am I not expressing myself because I feel like I need to go into kind of a fight response?
So Eleni, your work really blends depth, intuition, and leadership. What moment in your journey really helped shape the woman and leader you are today?
I couldn't really pinpoint one thing. I think it's just been continually evolving through life, through different relationships and experiences in life as well. But definitely after I've either ended a relationship or a relationship has ended, there's been a lot of reflection time that I've given myself, even time, like being celibate for periods of time, just to reflect on my patterns and my emotional world, where I gave love really well, where I didn't show up or I was afraid to. So it really gets you into yourself when you just give yourself the space and time to reflect, really just go internal, just go within. And I think that that is something that a lot of people are afraid of doing, is actually sitting with themselves and looking at the hard stuff and why you're attracting, and really looking at where you're closed and where you collapse even. And so I guess I couldn't really pinpoint one thing to answer that question. There's just been an evolving times that's happened. So
And during that period of celibacy, were you actually dating men?
no, no. About 5 years ago, I had a period of 3 years of celibacy, and I didn't look to date. I didn't, of course, like there were moments where I'd like look for like eye contact moments where I wanted that hit of masculine energy. And that really brought me into reflection. I was like, what was I looking for there? Why was I looking for that? And why couldn't I, not that I was like shaming myself, but it was more like a reflecting of why am I like doing this kind of thing? And other moments where I really wanted to have sex and had that urge to have sex. And 3 years is a long time. And looking at where I kind of collapse my energy into leaking my energy sometimes to people that I shouldn't, whether that was a married man or that was somebody like that I was like in a bar with or something like that. Like, what was I looking for there? Why was I doing this? And yeah, so it was really, really good to reflect on myself in that time. And that was 5 years ago. And currently I've just um, been through 12 months of celibacy as I ended a relationship last year, which has been even better. Like, I feel like you can become more embodied in your own erotic energy when you learn how to keep that with yourself first and really honor and cherish it and let it move through you rather than it leaking out in different ways. So I work with a lot of powerful women as well, and I actually don't know many women that aren't embodied in their sexuality, that aren't powerful, embodied women as well. So, yeah.
I mean, it's a great topic. I feel like we could probably just swim in this current for quite a while. There's certain words that always prick my interest. So when I hear the word masculine, because I'm really interested myself in the masculine, feminine. In your own words and through your lens, Eleni, what does healthy masculinity look like?
Yeah. So it'd be definitely a man that has also been with himself, that is also able to reflect on himself. Now, this has got nothing to do with perfection, not with men or with women. And when I hear like, oh, you're not feminine enough or you're not masculine enough, like it's really off putting for me. I don't resonate with that at all. I think there are definitely different qualities that women can embody that where they can deepen into their femininity, and also men that can embody more of their masculine. And to answer your question more directly, like men that are like deeply grounded in who they are, meaning they're connected to their purpose, is something that's very attractive to women. Man that doesn't kind of lash out when a woman's in her emotional storm. Can he hold that? But with that, there's also, I think, the issue where women there's an expectation there for a man to hold her storm, all of it, all of that energy, and that's not a man's job either. But being able to hold her and also be embodied in his boundaries, to be able to say, I can receive you, but I'm not going to take all of this vomit that you're dropping on me as well.
Yeah, I like that. And then what would be healthy femininity? Because that we don't really necessarily, or at least I don't hear people talk about that so much as I do about the need for healthy masculine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. So I think what I've seen and what I've kind of heard in conversations is femininity is how you dress or what you do in the kitchen and preparing meals and things like that, kind of more like the housewife style. And I believe that's definitely part of it. However, I do also feel that receptivity, being able to receive a man, being able to receive life, being able to be with your own emotional chaos when that's there. I mean, that's healthy femininity as well, because we are emotional. We're emotional creatures, and we like to be heard, seen, validated, all the things. But it's like when we're projecting that energy outward a lot, we also go into masculine. Right. And so to be able to go inward, reflect is sort of like a meditative state and more of a submissive, receptive state, which I think is where, or I know, is also where erotic energy is accessed when you're able to be with these parts.
That's very good. Now, many women reach a point where success on the outside no longer feels aligned on the inside. What do you see happening at that crossroads of when a woman is feeling like?
I think there may be a time where, like, she's just women, when they reach this point of success, and there's quite a few women in my personal sphere that have reached this space, and they're just like, I'm just not fulfilled anymore. It's just not enough for me. And so this is where a lot of them turn to their relationship and look at, well, I have got everything. I've reached this level, and why am I still not happy? And a lot of that is that internal work that we talk about is like, where are you being asked to perhaps spiritually grow in other areas, emotionally grow, move deeper into yourself, and maybe through that deepening, something else opens and expands in your life. Maybe you want to take a different route. Maybe you want to do something else. Maybe you just want to just love your man even more, and that's something that's really bothering you. And it's like, how do I love him better without having to do things? And there is a way. There is a way. It's the deepening into self. It's the embodiment of your higher self. Yeah.
I think that, I mean, for me, it's very much a theme that your relationship with yourself is the most crucial. We don't escape ourselves. We're with ourselves 24/7.
Absolutely. Totally. Yeah.
Your work invites women to reconnect with their inner authority. Why do you think so many high achieving women perhaps lose trust in their own inner voice?
I think a lot of it's to do with perhaps not doing some of the emotional processing work from childhood or even previous relationships, and perhaps things that they've experienced in their lives, because there's sometimes a disconnect that can happen when, say, trauma happens, for example, in your life, and you go to therapy and you think it's done its job, and then, a memory might come up and, trigger you, and then you just work. I just want to work. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to go back there. I'm fine. And they go, 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 go. And then there's burnout, nervous system shuts down, poof. Like, that's the kind of collapse that happens. That's the collapse that happens. And then that's generally, and I know from my own experience, that that's when you start to sit with yourself. You're actually forced to sit down and feel. It's feeling, because I think a lot of women that are in that drive, that have a lot of drive and success, are in their heads a lot. Not all of them, not making it like a generalized, expression here, but that's what that happens. And then they disconnect from their bodies and their hearts and their pleasure.
Mm. Yeah, you make a good point. What I find interesting with at least visibility for women is that society's put such a weight and pressure on women to look a certain way, and so you've got an expectation, and society's put that where you have to watch your every move, think about what you dress before you leave the house. So I know that's a real thing for women, but then also you end up also falling into a trap of where women are using lots of filters to maybe make themselves look thinner or younger or whatever that is. And I feel like that's equally as harmful too. So you kind of in this kind of difficult space of trying to measure up, but also because it's an attractive proposition to look a little more attractive. When it comes to visibility, it can feel very vulnerable, especially for women who lead maybe with depth rather than noise. How have you learned to be seen without self-betrayal?
I love this question. I believe it has been through connecting into my own erotic energy. It honestly has been the key factor to connecting into my own pleasure, feeling myself, feeling my heart, feeling what's true, and feeling the grief on top of that, feeling the anger on top of that, feeling the self-betrayal and the times where I have self-betrayed or I have self-abandoned and either, for example, not left the house wanting what I actually wanted to wear, or even more so, not saying the things that I felt were on my heart. And so I feel feeling into those parts within myself has been able to transmute that and allow me to anchor in that confidence and to be seen in the world, to have more of that visibility as who I actually am. And this work as well, it helps you feel more youthful. You look more youthful because you're clearing out what's kind of the shadow inside of you as well, which kind of, when women are like stress, you can see stress on their faces. You can see they're pushing. You can see they're like that. They've got kind of that tension, and it helps to unwind you from that through just that somatic work, the emotional processing and the nervous system work.
When you talk about erotic energy, what do you mean by that?
Really sitting with your pleasure with yourself. So what that would look like would be, say you're feeling a certain way, say you're feeling a little bit of sadness or you're feeling a little bit of annoyance from something that happened. I recommend women to sit with themselves and feel that after work. Sit with yourself for 10 minutes and feel it so it doesn't continue building up. And who you really are underneath that is pleasure, there's life force under that. There's truth under that. It's not who I am. That whatever happened there is not really me. And you can connect into the deepest part of you that knows who you are, your own heart, your own truth, your own turn on is you.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people, they kind of are running away from their self. That's why they're busy, right? People that are busy or always kind of joking around, it's very much a mask for the actual ache or the disconnect that they feel within them. And the fact that you're able to talk about it so openly, I find really refreshing. And I just wonder what sort of first steps you took in order for you to have reached a point where you've gone on this journey. When you say you feel into it, and it does seem like you literally do just find a quiet place to sit and observe. Is there anything more to it than you just like being still, acknowledging, observing?
Yeah, great question. So it's evolved. So at the beginning where I really wasn't really sure of how much I should feel. Am I feeling too much? Because I'm quite a bit of an emotional creature. I would like
You
at the
think?
beginning, yeah, at the beginning stages, I would just feel, and they're like, they didn't really. I just felt like numbness. Really couldn't move through what was actually there because it was so much there. I just felt numb. I just numbed myself from feeling my heart, from feeling my womb, from feeling any kind of sexual pleasure or anything like that. And so to answer your question more clearly, it's really sitting with myself and letting whatever's there, just being a practice for like a week, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, until I move through into those deeper layers where there was the grief. And then through that, you just feel this opening. Oh my goodness, like the heart opens, the body opens, and then you feel more sensual. You can actually smell like the smells around you more. You can you touch yourself and you feel more sensitive in just a little touch instead of feeling like you have to force it, which is more going to that performative. I want to feel pleasure, which then leads into sex being like that as well.
Yeah, I think, like I said at the very start, sex has historically been very taboo, and it's something that you don't talk about, right? But then people talk about it. And so you have a situation where, for example, I've got two daughters and I think about them in this current world that we're in. And if we're going to talk about sex, then let's actually hear it expressed in a healthy way. So from your point of view, especially for people that have daughters or young women that may listen to this who are like 16, Like, what's kind of your advice and experience in order for us to feel our own bodies, but what it really means to express that pleasure in a healthy way?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would say would be to trust your body's intelligence. Trust the wisdom and intelligence of your body. And if it's like, yes, this feels good in my heart, in my body to move forwards with having sex for younger women, I would say, move forwards with that and just every step of the way, moment to moment, trust yourself. If something doesn't feel good, it's a no. If it feels good, move forwards with it. But yeah, also having, I think, people to be able to talk to that you trust like a female is important as well. Just for that little bit of feminine confidence, like that, like for them to give you their insights, not what they've been through, but somebody at the right time could give you something that will help land as well. But for me, the first thing that I would say is trust the wisdom and intelligence of your body, because a lot of young women, and I was a woman that was young and did things. I didn't talk to anyone. It was sort of like hit and miss myself, and I didn't trust my body. I knew, like, we have this knowing inside of us whether we do something or not. And I always had the knowing, and you do it anyway, because whether it was peer pressure, whether it was you don't want to lose the boyfriend, whether it was for something else, it was like you abandon yourself and the self-betrayal, and that stays with you. It stays with you.
Yes. It's interesting because I keep hearing, like, only literally this year, this idea of body intelligence. We hear about emotional intelligence or intellect, but body intelligence, I mean, I heard about it literally like this month. I've never heard of this phrase before, and now you're talking about it.
Yeah. When you're able to really start connecting into your own sensuality, meaning, like I was talking about earlier, I mentioned earlier, feeling into what's there, the body starts to soften. It doesn't feel as hard. Like there's not that collapse in there as much. And so when it softens, it opens, and then it can like feel pleasure, and you can move pleasure. And so and then you start to feel the wisdom and intelligence of your body. It starts to open and feel more sensitive and more alive. Yeah.
It
And
does. Go on.
yeah, I was just going to say, and from that place, you can trust it more. I think a distinction that also needs to be made in regards to the wisdom and intelligence of the body is that women need to learn the difference between their trauma and also their intuition as well, because there is an overlap that happens there where they don't trust themselves, they don't trust their partner, even if he's a good man, and then they start to project their things, their issues, their past onto them, because they're thinking their body is saying, this isn't good for
Safe.
me, or it's your fault, when it's coming from trauma, not from truth.
I think that's a massive point. I've experienced that myself on the other side.
And I've been that woman that's
Where
projected as well.
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think there needs to be more to said because it can look similar. I think it's a lot like protection and manipulation as well. I think these are very similar where, if a woman's walking home late at night in the dark and I was to say, actually, I would prefer, for you to jump in an Uber, for example, and I'll pay for that Uber or whatever, right? That's, for me, that's protection and care. Whereas, you could also say, well, he's trying to control like my choices and I want to walk home.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. And it depends the lens that you view the world from. And if you're trusting yourself in that moment as well, and the energy of that in that moment. And women are very intuitive when they're open, but when their body is clear, when their body is clear. Yeah.
And I think something else that you touched on that I think was really important too was this, in relation to the body intelligence, this idea of self-betrayal. And for any of us that have betrayed ourselves, how do we move past that?
Yeah, I've done a lot of healing modalities. I've tried a lot of different things, and I do believe that nobody would ever go wrong in going to therapy once. Like, do it. do it. Go and process the things you've been through in childhood that you haven't fully processed. Go and process the things that you need to process from your teenage years. Like, go and talk to someone. It's not a bad thing. And I know in my culture, Greek culture, it was like a taboo thing. Like, you don't do things like that. Like, it was something wrong with her or him, and you just didn't do it. Otherwise, there was something wrong with you. So that it's been a big one for me. And me personally, I wouldn't date anyone that hasn't gone to therapy anymore, because I know it's good for you, you know. And yeah, I believe in it 100%. So in that way, you can be a healthy partner. You can learn where you're projecting. You can start to see your patterns, because you're separating yourself from like trauma to what is actually true as well.
Your work can do a lot of good here, Eleni. I really believe it. And I think that a lot of what we're talking about here is really where you need to position yourself a niche into this, like tackling some of these. And like I said to you, I really believe that because you speak for the benefit of the male line, even though you're absolutely for both. But I feel like you're taking a position that's really quite beautiful and needed. Because like I said, I could say something to a woman and it wouldn't land. And sometimes it takes a woman to speak to a woman, or sometimes it takes a man to speak to a man. So it works both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lot of the work that I do with women, is speaking to them about that men are different, and that it's important for women to take responsibility for what's theirs. So for me, like, I was the woman that projected. I was the rageful woman. I was the woman that wasn't very nice sometimes. And I had to go to therapy to work that out. It wasn't men. And I could see it was part of it was conditioning, part of it was my history, part of it was the stories, part of it was cultural. Like, it was a bit of everything. But the transformation that happened inside me was when I took responsibility for absolutely every single thing showing up in the relationship that I was in, or the relationships that I have around me. Something triggered me. What's this showing me? If a man wasn't giving me something that I desired, whether that was like, say, I wanted my heart to be felt more. I didn't feel like he was feeling my heart. Well, where was I actually projecting stuff at him rather than learning how to reveal my heart? Because there's a difference to revealing than it is to actually giving energy and you're not doing this. So there's the communication in that as well. There's a lot of different parts we could go to here as well. Yeah.
Now, you speak about embodiment and presence. How does being embodied really change the way women lead, communicate, and make decisions?
Well, when you're embodied, you're bringing your higher self through. So you're not in that wounded little girl arena anymore. You're moving out of that into more of the womanhood, the wise woman, and kind of loving the little girl still. In moments you need to hold her and love her, but embodying your higher self, embodying your truth, embodying more of your power comes from being with all these parts, processing what you need to process, and sitting with what is real and true inside of you. It's how I see it.
Yeah, it all comes back down to that pause, taking time just to remember who you are, and coming back to that point of honoring yourself and being in that place where you're kind of comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And yeah, it can take time. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, if you're wired a certain way for, say, 40 years, and you're like, right, I want more pleasure in my life, or I want to feel more embodied. It's like, okay, cool. Well, what are you feeling right now? And then unlocking one little thing will then unlock what's been sitting under that. And that could be years of stuff, which is why I've mentioned, therapy. Your partner's not your therapist. You want erotic energy? Well, you can't bring all your therapy stuff or that things that need to go to therapy to your relationship. Like, that's not erotic. Who wants to do that on a man's side and a woman's side? And so you want to bring more of that erotic energy. Okay, well, you have to sit with the parts of you that are not very erotic either. Like your
No.
own grief, the parts you don't like about yourself, the parts where you don't actually fully trust your partner, even so though you say that you do. And from that place, you anchor more safety into your body. You can start trusting the intelligence of your body, and you can open. You can open to feel more pleasure and allow life force to move through you and guide you as well.
And that transition, I think, we're all on a journey, and it's about, taking one shift at a time. Are there particular patterns, Eleni, that you notice in women who are ready for their next evolution, but maybe feel stuck between who they were and who they're becoming?
Next steps would be to feel safe in yourself. I think looking at where you don't feel safe to move forwards, why you don't feel safe. So for me, I did quite a bit of work around visibility, for example. Say I'll use myself as an example. I can speak to that as well. Is I decided I'm ready for more visibility. Okay, well, that's what I desire to manifest. That's what I want to bring into my life. So you're not only calling that in, but you're calling every single part of you up that is not in resonance with that, that's afraid of that sabotages that does all the things with that, to look at so you can be more visible. So whatever it is, whatever you're calling in, whatever you're desiring for that next step or for that transition, there's going to be all the stuff in between that's holding you back from that needs to surface so you can look at why you don't actually have that yet.
That's a really good point. And would you say that for female CO listeners who feel the pull for more clarity, confidence, and visibility, what's the first kind of conversation they need to have with themselves? Would it be what you've just said, or would there be something else?
That would be the first thing, to see what would be in the way of that, just to see what's there, what's underneath the desire. Where's the block? Why don't you have that in your life yet? What work do you need to do to step into that identity? Because this is like identity work, right? It's sort of like, who do I need to become to have this in my life? So we'd look at all these parts and rewiring the subconscious to see what's actually holding them back from, if anything, from stepping into that.
And one question that I've asked, I think the majority, if not all, of the female CO podcast guests so far is, what's like one thing a man can do to help a woman thrive, grow, expand, feel safe, be seen?
I love this question. One thing that a man can give to a woman, a powerful woman that has everything, that doesn't need anything, is his unwavering presence. And that would be grounded in himself. When I mean rooted in his groin, like he can feel his feet on the ground, he can feel his root in the ground, his body structures facing her, and she can feel that she can lean in. So if you're thinking of the feminine body, that's kind of more flowy. She's more flowy and she wants to express, and she moves around and she talks like this and she's all these things. And the man, he holds himself. He holds his structure. He has presence. He holds eye contact. If he holds eye contact, she trusts him more as well. There's a lot more trust there as well. And so he's with her, unwavering. And that creates the mountain, that creates the rock for her to lean into that, because it doesn't move.
Gorgeous. I like that you've painted that as well. I can see that as well as feel it.
Yeah. I like to kind of give that expression, because you can see where the polarity also happens in that as well. There's the groundedness, but then there's the flow on the other side of it that allows that polarity to be there between man and woman as well.
Yeah, I think my additional thought on the masculine feminine, and probably the best kind of like picture that I like to talk about, is the masculine being the riverbank and the river is the feminine.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful picture. So when we go and see a river now, we'll see the masculine is the riverbank, the water is the feminine.
Yeah, it's stunning. It's beautiful.
It is. Okay, so we've only got a few minutes left, but because you are intuitive, I want to just create a moment for you maybe to share something that you feel like female CO listener will really benefit from, or just something that's come to mind that you just feel like you want to share.
Yeah. Thing like if I had a microphone and I could say one thing to women CEOs, it would be to feel more pleasure in your life, aside work, but in your body, in connection to yourself, just to let yourself feel, let yourself go to those places and the places that you're afraid to touch, and to find that deeper connection so you trust yourself more, so you feel safe in moving forwards. You have to go to those places because it doesn't happen in your head. It happens in the body. The safety happens in the body. You bring the energy down, and I think that wouldn't even be a message for all women CEOs. It would be for everybody. It would be for all women. It would be to let yourself feel. Because I think even, I just wanted to touch on this with the way that AI and everything is coming up. I know it's a whole different topic, but is coming about and evolving, is that people are going to lose that connection to feeling because they can instantly just go to a phone and connect to something through their head. And I think just even a little bit of time with self, 10 minutes a day would be enough to start with, to feel, will do amazing for everybody.
Yes, I think that's a great thought to leave us with. Eleni, where do people find out like more about you and your work?
You can visit my website, www.elenikantzos.com.au. I also have an Instagram page and a Facebook page as well, same name.
Beautiful. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Female CEO podcast. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Female CEO podcast, created by the Female CEO Create, Evolve, Overcome. This podcast amplifies women's voices, stories, and lived experience. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on our YouTube channel, and discover more at thefemaleceo.com.